Okay, this is my presentation on the copy data conundrum. The copy data is a word you might not be too familiar with. It's essentially a word that the industry is starting to use across multiple different products. But the conundrum and the idea of copy data conundrum is that data is everywhere. And managing the data sprawl and all the different data points, the products we use are a problem for enterprise, let alone in management pain points and storage growth, but the costs as well. So really today I just wanted to talk about a few different use cases and ideas on what's contributing to the copy data use cases, and just talk about a few different ideas on where it's going with not necessarily products, but just to make you aware of the challenges that copy data can bring to enterprise and cloud providers. So, what are the reasons that corporates are continuing to store more and more data? Well, it's just, I blame it on ITIL and the old practices that have been introduced by needing, continual development tests, pre-prod UAT training environments. It's literally just contributed to this massive data sprawl. Is it all put to good use? Well, what I see in my day-to-day life is that a lot of people are getting these copies built and they're static, they're living for a period of time. Developers come back and they want another copy of the data from production for a particular use case or a test, and then it lives in that environment and then no one goes and cleans it up. It's literally just a pain point that is exacerbating across the enterprise. So as an example, just think about your sort of day-to-day life in terms about how copy data exists. So if you take a photo on your phone, you generally then might automatically sync it up to the cloud. You might store a copy on your PC, your iPad might sync a copy, or your tablet device. You then might target it to social media, items like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and the like. It's 1 meg quickly becomes 6 meg. That's just one example of how copy data exists in your own home life. But in the enterprise, it tilts the scale to a different paradigm. A database or a large enterprise with significant data might start with 10 terabytes. By the time they back it up, maybe a snapshot for better recovery, replicate it, do some test dev on it, that 10 terabytes is easily turned into 60 terabytes. And that's not what the enterprise is really built for managing, is all these different copies built for different use cases. But this exists, and I see it across so many accounts today. It's quite remarkable, that the growth of data. So copy data again, some of this data here comes from an IDC document, and what I'm trying to do here is just talk about the size and magnitude of the copy data problem. IDC quotes it as being a $44 billion global problem. $44 billion of products are spent up to about the year 2015, 2016 in regards to solving the copy data problem, consuming up to 60% of your production or disk that you purchase, and could account for up to 85% of your hardware spend. So a significant challenge. We find that enterprises, or when I say we, in my experience, I'm seeing that enterprises are spending more money managing copies of data than they are managing the production data. And that's not the way that budgets are generally aligned. Production data is key, but all the copy data is where all your CapEx and OpEx tends to go. So how big is copy data? In terms of magnitude of the problem, give or take, it's around 300 exabytes. What is that? Well, I'm not going to read these out to you in terms of all the different bullet points there, but it's a absolute bucket load of data. We're talking, 5 and 6 times bigger than the big data solutions that are out there today. Copy data actually exceeds that. So I wanted to step through into some quick dev test use cases to talk about how this sprawl occurs. So here's a use case that I see commonly out in my customers that I talk to from a day-to-day perspective. So if you want a copy of data and you're a developer or an application manager that's building an app, you submit a request, goes to the management team, it might sit there for a period of time waiting for approval, then it might hit the DBAs in terms of they might do a backup to purposely grab that data. You might then hit up the infrastructure team, system administrators, storage administrators, get the data restored onto the storage, and by the time the people have got the copy, it could be a matter of days and let alone weeks, as we see quite often. By the time people have got that development data, it's already out of date. And this is a significant challenge. And part of the problem is the way that the products that are introduced today in regards to how this exacerbates itself. So here's an example of a database or a system that requires multiple copies for a couple of different developers and testers. If you're starting at a footprint of around 3 terabytes for that initial copy, by the time all the developers get a copy, you can be, your storage growth can be quite significant. As you can see there, 3 terabytes can grow to 21 terabytes fairly quickly. And that just leads to, pain, throughput, performance, and let alone cost. So what can you do? Well, part of the problem is the traditional tool sets have got us here. The traditional backup tools, snapshotting tools, they're all different silos of data stored in different buckets. So, enterprises need to think about re-strategizing and looking at unique products in the market to help deliver data quicker and more efficient. I've got a few examples here I've listed. There's vendors such as HDS, acquired a company called Cofio to do some stuff. EMC have announced that their backup resiliency services are collapsing products to try and deliver a protection and availability storage platform. NetApp have got a lot of different products there in their arsenal. Delphix also do databases quite specific. Catalogic are entering the market, and then the company that I work for, Actifio, we also specialise in this particular area. But one item I want to talk about is VMware's moved in developing a product or a feature that comes out of an open source product called vMfork that's developed out of Carnegie Mellon and a university in Canada. But they're calling it Project Fargo. And I'll talk about Project Fargo in a little bit, but by having these tools, essentially what you should end up with is something similar to this. You've got your database, but your storage growth is fairly small in size and stature, as opposed to that continual sprawl. Getting back onto the vMfork, this is what it looks like. The idea of vMfork is that you can start with a VM and very, very quickly, within seconds, essentially produce a number of copies of those VMs. They are already booted, the application's loaded, spun off that source VM, and you're immediately producing these copies which you can then go down a different path with. Again, this could be used for things like rendering, data analysis, analytics, but the vMfork application in terms of virtual machines will result in radically simplified ways of managing large amounts of VMs and applications, but also in a very storage efficient manner. You just need to deal with the compute. But vMfork also allows you to isolate these VMs when you spin them up. Again, there's no boot time. It literally just does what it needs to do, join the domain, give it an IP address, and then the application's loaded and ready to go. So look out for this one. It's really going to change the game. So just to quickly summarize, in what we see in the market today is that before, in the way things are done today is with these accidental copies. So the copies are being produced by products such as backup, snapshot, disaster recovery, test and dev, data analytics. But your production data is growing, but not at the rate of your copy data. The copy data being the items in red. Whereas after, and you look at these copy data products to manage and simplify, you end up with I guess a less geometric view of your storage world. So this can significantly reduce the pain and cost that you spend. So to summarize, look, data is everywhere. It's getting out of control. People are looking to reduce costs dramatically, yet they're dealing with the data sprawl and data that's really just bursting out of control. Managing those copies in the separate siloed products is extremely complex to manage today. A lot of those products don't integrate with each other. But the last thing I'd put as a point is your budget increasing at the same rate as your copy data growth? Ordinarily, I see that that's not the case. It's a significant challenge, but one that hopefully you start to look at and research and invest some time in researching what copy data can do for you and copy data management solutions can do for you. Thanks very much. All right.